Views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
And I'm CJ. Friday in the Riv.
What the primary subject of today's show will be, and probably the only subject.
I wonder what that's going to be.
I wonder what that's going to be. But it won't only be the indictment, which I think that, you know, you began the show right after the intro with, but some other aspects of this issue. So we have the indictment here in its entirety.
And this indictment, by the way, people, came out on October 4th.
Yeah.
So this was out long before yesterday's arrest.
Yep.
So just so people are clear on this.
Yeah.
And it's a true bill indictment. The foreperson's name is here. And the assistant U.S. attorney who handled the case, his name is here, and the deputy clerk's name is here. And it was the indictment was issued on 10/4/18 at 11:17 in the morning.
Yep. So
let's look at this.
Yeah.
This, and let's read some of this of what it was used for. I know many of you have already heard about what some of this money was used for, and a lot of you out there are saying, no, he didn't do it. He didn't do it. You know. He's innocent until proven guilty. Meanwhile, you're probably the same people who turned around and said Kavanaugh was guilty until he was proven innocent, right? So
that's true. The only people entitled to due process are their friends. So
right.
That's that. But if you're an enemy, you have no due process.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it. So what's very interesting about this is that the mayor constantly said that Snow Owl was a successful app. According to the district attorney, and the documents found, it wasn't even a prototype. It was just a prototype app. It hadn't even been put out there yet. Mm-hmm. Although the mayor still claims that it was approved by Apple for download onto the Apple phone.
Which, number one, that's really not even relevant.
That's
because
right.
The fact is, it's how he handled the money, fundamentally, and the taxes. And when it comes to taxes, I'll just say one thing for all you. Al Capone killed about half of Chicago, and they never prosecuted him for that criminal activity. And what did they put him away for? In case you students of history don't know, Al Capone went to jail for tax evasion. So you can't, you can do a lot of things with this government, but don't take some of their money. And but, this is a very long and lengthy thing. Go ahead, CJ. Read the excerpts you want to read.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, remember about the Mercedes that everyone talked about when he first took office? On or about January 16, 2013, Correia deposited investor number one's $50,000 check into the Citizens account. That's Citizens Bank. Just over a month later, on or about February 23, 2013, Correia bought himself a 2011 Mercedes C300 A1D all-wheel drive sports sedan. As part of the purchase, he used $10,000 of Investor One's money, which he withdrew directly from the Citizens account.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, we know how the feds operate. They don't bring.
Well, one of the things that they said was that he used debit cards and credit cards for a lot of his transactions. Well, those are traceable.
Yeah.
That's absolutely traceable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, look, we're looking at this stuff, and we know one thing about the feds. It took them nearly a year to bring this forward. They're very slow, they're very diligent, and they have like a 98% conviction rate because they do not bring arbitrary and capricious things. They've got to have a lot of proof. And as you said, some of this proof is irrefutable because it's, public record, where they can say subpoena the debit cards and the credit cards and stuff. It is there. It's there. So, I mean, we can't litigate the case here, and he is innocent until proven guilty, and he is entitled to due process. And that, with that being said, you know, I mean,
nobody's saying he's not entitled to due process.
no, I understand that.
But you know, he's constantly saying, let's move Fall River forward, let's move Fall River forward. Yeah, this is moving Fall River forward. We're on the front page of the Washington Post, the New York Times. We're on the CBS and NBC Nightly News. We made national news with the mayor who's indicted and arrested. And you were arrogant, Mr. Mayor. You were arrogant. You went into the courtroom wearing your black polo shirt and your black pants and handcuffs and leg shackles, and you were smiling. You were smiling. You came out of the courthouse. You were smiling. You were giving people a thumbs up. Who are you, Richard Nixon? I am not a crook. I mean, come on.
Well, that's going into the archives. That's right. I am not a crook. But, you know, CJ, we can, I don't even know, you know, people want to read this. It's available now because the reality is it will be determined in a court of law. For us to sit there and say, well, you know, the reality is the only opinion that will count will be the opinion rendered by the court. This will be adjudicated. It will take a long time. But the issue is not this. This is it. It is what it is now. These are the charges, and I will remind everyone that's watching, these may not be the only charges, because they said time and time again that these investigations in other areas are ongoing. So we don't know if these are the only charges. But what is a fact is that the mayor, and as I said, I'll preface this by saying very clearly, he is, unlike Kavanaugh, who virtually half the country wanted to say we're going to believe a statement from a person with absolutely no corroborative evidence. There is evidence in this. We ought to believe that the mayor's not guilty. Well, I'm not going to believe anything. You know, these, as far as I'm concerned, are allegations and assertions by the mayor, which will be determined to be, who is factual will be determined in court. But what the jury isn't out on is the fact that the mayor has made it clear in his statement that I am innocent of these charges. I will absolutely not be resigning from this office. I love Fall River and all its residents, and I will continue to be an honor to serve them. That's not grammatically correct, but in other words, he's going to stay here and he loves Fall River. Well, you know, if you love Fall River, Mr. Mayor, you should resign. You should resign. The reality is that, and I know there's talk about the city council and should they remove him and shouldn't they remove him, because now it's in the charter. Let me start with that by saying I don't agree with that section in the charter. I don't believe that the city councils have the right to remove a mayor. I think that the people should, like we did in a recall, but they made it difficult. But it's there now. It's there. And I had this discussion with one of our political pundits last night, and he said, you know, if I was on there, I would not vote to remove him because he's entitled to due process. And I will tell you my argument, and you're entitled to your opinion. What I told him was that I disagree with that, but it's there. It is a law, technically. It is the law of due process, and I am not saying he's guilty. I will remove him because I believe he cannot be an effective mayor. Someone who is charged with these crimes, how can you expect people to deal with somebody who's charged with mishandling money, misappropriating money, not using money for what it was given to you for, evading taxes,
and lying,
and lying, and lying, and lying? And they're going to say, well, you know, there are allegations, and you're right, there are allegations, but there are certain circumstances where allegations alone should give any logical human being the reality that they should resign. Example, if an individual who is running a daycare center is accused of child molestation, do you truly believe that he should remain in that position? He's not guilty yet, but just the accusation makes it impossible for him to do that job. And if you were a parent, would you ever send your child to that thing until the thing is adjudicated? If the mayor truly loved Fall River, he would resign, take his due process, and if he proves himself innocent, he can come back and look for his job again and see if the people have confidence in him. You cannot be a mayor in a city that's already looked upon as being a total mess, crime, poverty, everything. Now you got a mayor who's indicted. And not my words, but Governor Charlie Baker's words. These are serious allegations. You can't do your job. Mr. Mayor, you're not an auto mechanic. If you were charged with duping your investors and lying and you're my mechanic, and you're a good mechanic, I might still bring my car to you. But if you're a pedophile and you're running a daycare center, I'm not going to bring my child. And if you're a mayor with these charges on you, I am not going to bring my business to Fall River. That's just my spin. That's just my attitude. That's just my opinion.
Well, and you're right. I mean, it takes 7 votes of the city council to remove him from office. And while you may not agree with that, that is the law.
Oh, no, I disagreed with the charter, period, and that was one of the reasons. But it is the law. And as I said, and if I was a sitting city councilor, I would vote to remove him, because any city councilor who can't see that he can't be effective.
That's right.
Should be voted out in the next election. They should remove him from office. If he wasn't smart enough, and if he truly loved this city enough to realize that he can't do that job effectively anymore.
Well, you know, what's very interesting is, you know, in paragraph 31 of the, 51 of the indictment, it says, on several occasions during the course of the engagement with accountant number 1, Correia admitted to accountant number 1 that Correia had used a substantial amount of investor money for personal expenses, approximately $100,000. Correia, however, did not come close to admitting the full amount of investor money he had taken for himself. Correia also admitted to accountant number 1 that Correia had not disclosed the existence of Snow Owl on either Correia's 2013 or 2014 personal tax returns. This caused accountant number 1 to inform Correia that Correia was required to file amended tax returns, which they're getting him on, and all of this was done via email and interstate transactions. Email is a transaction across interstate lines. And depositing money into Citizens Bank. Citizens Bank is a bank based out of Massachusetts. Therefore, it was an interstate financial transaction. That's why they're going after him for wire fraud. Now, let's look at where the money was spent. Lavish trips. And we've spoken about the trips how many times on this show? How many times have we spoken about trips on this show?
We showed his hotel.
Yeah, I mean, the Fontainebleau.
The Fontainebleau.
He went to France. He spent money on jewelry for his girlfriend. I believe that was the statement.
Or friends.
Or friends.
Or adult entertainers.
Or adult entertainers, or whatever the case may be. He spent money on adult entertainment. He bought a Mercedes.
Which is a code word for we all know what.
Yeah, exactly. You know, people go to the Foxy Lady regularly. That's, you know. But when you're using a debit card and you're running your, quote unquote, you're running your business out of your personal bank account, you have a problem. You have a serious problem, especially when you're soliciting hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you spent 64%, according to the indictment, over 64% of the money was allegedly spent by Jasiel Correia.
That's only because he didn't have enough time to spend it all. And he actually got a job, his first real job. He became the mayor.
Right.
So he didn't have to take money from the investors any longer. But, you know, the thing about this is that, look, I'm going to make a statement here that, you know, it's my opinion, but I think that even if he's found guilty, he will be, in his mind, innocent because we've already seen some of the precursors of what he's saying. Remember a while back when he was first accused, he said, my accountant did it?
Yep.
So his thing is going to be, my accountant did it. I didn't know I was responsible. I was only 19. It's in his statement right here. He says, I started Snow Owl when I was just 19 years old. That's not an excuse. But the thing is, in his mind, it is. He's going to plead when Johnny gets caught stealing a cookie, he says, well, Larry stole a cookie too. And I'm younger than Larry, so it's like, so I'm not really guilty, But the fact is that, as I said, the facts of the case are the facts of the case. What I'm looking at here is, as a citizen, as a taxpayer, can he effectively do that job? And as our city council, again, because they always complain. We sit on this show and we talk about unqualified people getting jobs, massive pay raises for people that are undeserved, total incompetence given jobs, burying people in the wrong plot, ice house guards becoming the heads of departments. But remember one thing. All the blame doesn't go to him. He can try to get all his friends jobs. Remember who approved virtually every one of those jobs?
City Council.
The City Council. And again, it's in their court. If he's not man enough and mature enough to understand that he's hurting the city he supposedly loves by staying in that office, as a pedophile would by staying in charge of a daycare center, the City Council should take it upon themselves to stand up and say, Mr. Mayor, prove yourself innocent, but you can't really do the job. You're hurting the city. You cannot be effective, and you are damaging an already severely damaged city.
Exactly. But in all fairness, let's read the mayor's statement in full.
Go ahead.
Statement of Fall River Mayor Jasiel Correia. I want to state unequivocally that I am innocent of all allegations and charges made against me today. Being an entrepreneur is what America is all about, and that is why I started Snow Owl when I was just 19 years old, to develop a truly innovative app to better connect local businesses with local customers. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into building this company. The Snow Owl app was completed and approved for downloading from the Apple App Store. At no time did I ever mislead our investors. I look forward to my day in court to share my side of the story and to clear my name. As I am innocent of these charges, I will absolutely not be resigning from this office. I love Fall River and its residents. It has been and will continue to be an honor to serve them and to move our city forward. I want to reassure all of my constituents that these unfortunate circumstances will in no way impact the functioning of city government or my commitment to work as hard as I possibly can every day to represent the citizens of the great city of Fall River. That's the mayor's statement.
Yeah, and I look at this and I see his MO all over it, because he says, at no time did I ever mislead our investors. And that may be an actual fact. At no time did he mislead them. He just took their money and misspent it.
That's it.
I mean, I'm sure he didn't go to his investors and say, by the way, I'm buying jewelry with your money. By the way, I'm taking money out of there to buy a Mercedes.
Or designer clothes.
Or designer clothes, or adult entertainment. And I'm sure that's probably, it's convoluted, but I'm sure that's a half-truth. At no time did I go and tell my investors I was using the money. And as I said, that's just the way I'm looking at this fairly objectively, because I'm not saying that, well, maybe he didn't. Maybe these charges by the FBI, not some woman who can't remember how she got to the party, but the man's automatically guilty, but he's saying the FBI is wrong. that he misspent this money. And I'm not saying that, but the fact is, he's saying he didn't mislead his investors. That's got nothing to do with the charges. It's got nothing to do with whether you misled or didn't, because I'm 100% sure that's accurate. He didn't go tell his investors that, by the way, the money you gave me for Snow Owl, I bought a Mercedes with.
Right.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
But here's the thing, and you know, this is how the mayor China turns things around on people and makes it look like I'm innocent. He turned around and he said an absolute truth. He turned around and he says, none of these charges has anything to do with me as my job as mayor. And he's right. And he said that outside the courthouse. These charges have nothing to do with his job as mayor, except for the fact that he used this money from Snow Owl to fund his campaign.
Yeah, so it's not accurate, because you're right. He did use it to fund his campaign, and they've proved it. And secondly, it does have something to do with it, not directly,
right,
but indirectly. Because if this is what you did to your investors, what are you doing to your taxpayers?
Right.
It shows a pattern. And we've seen that pattern with endless pay raises, endless jobs for unqualified people. So I don't care. It says, he didn't do it as mayor. No, you're right. But you continued. Everybody has patterns in their life. They either, and what he's doing is following his pattern of using people's money to fund. And, I got somebody for him to blame about that, too.
Oh, yeah.
Who he can blame for this whole thing? His mentor. Remember?
Yep.
The guy who lived lavishly on the city dime?
Yep.
And stayed at the
high end,
the Ritz-Carlton.
That's right.
And then what did our mayor say? Well, he was a mentor to me. I can't believe he did this. Well, I can't believe you did exactly the same thing. So I guess he was a good mentor, because you like to live the lifestyle of the rich and nauseous, but you didn't do it with your own money. That's the problem.
One of our
you didn't do it with your own money.
One of our viewers just texted us and said, Snow Owl app is not available on the Apple App Store today. I would think not.
Probably never was either. So.
Right. And by the way, it's very interesting that, his lawyer was ready to move forward with this right away. There was no waiting. Now, just some of his opposition. Sam Sutter and Linda Pereira came out and made a statement. They were saddened by former Mayor Correia's arrest. And I think he needs to give serious consideration to stepping down, Sutter said. How can you lead? How can you inspire confidence?
Well, that's kind of well, Sam, he's right. This is something we've been basically alluding to. Right. But the fact is, being a former politician, they learn how to never ever come out and actually make a really, definitive statement. He needs to give serious consideration. That's crap. He can't lead effectively. He can't inspire confidence. And the fact is, you should call it like it is. He should step down, because the fact is that you can't administer government with these things. Like I said, he, above all people, should know.
He was a former DA.
He should know. As I said, if you're being charged with being a pedophile, you should remove yourself from the daycare center. If you're an attorney and you got convicted of murder, you probably are not going to have a job. And maybe if you tried to keep your license, they wouldn't give you. You should kind of step down and remove yourself. And even though you're innocent until proven guilty, if the DA gets charged with murder, he should probably step down. There are certain jobs, maybe if you're an auto mechanic, you don't have to. Maybe, but there are certain jobs where the perception of the individual in the job is just as important as their performance.
Right.
And that is a mayor. Now, you got a mayor in a city that's barely hanging on, that's looked down upon by virtually everybody because of the crime, the unemployment. We're considered the worst state in the city. What a bit, worst state in the country at one time, or one of the top. and now we got a mayor under indictment. You don't really believe that's going to affect your ability? How are we going to bring people to this city? When we can't talk about our educational system. We didn't make it into the top 100. We can't talk about our crime rate because it's in the top 50. We can't talk about the economic viability of the city because we're at the bottom for economic viability. And now we've got a government led by someone with these charges. For God's sakes, the city council and the mayor can't figure this out?
To me, it seems to be, an easy decision to make. But to get back to some of these statements by Sutter and Pereira, Sutter further said that Correia is entitled to a presumption of innocence.
As we've said numerous times.
He said, "I would love to be mayor again some days. I would be proud to serve and resume what we were doing for the city." He said that right now he's busy leading his law practice and concentrating on my clients and my cases. Linda Pereira said, "It's a sad day for Fall River. I love this city, and we deserve the best." Pereira said that despite having been Correia's opponent, "I certainly take no pleasure at these events." She said Correia was innocent until proven guilty, and I feel sad for his family. She said the issue must be dealt with by the city. And there it is. It must be dealt with by the city. When asked if she might consider another run for the mayoral office in the future, Pereira didn't rule it out. She said she'd need to first speak to her family. "I'd never make a decision on my own. If I get there okay, I don't know." But this is why does the mayoral run have anything to do with how they feel? But like you said, Chip, there's no statement of,
Well, I mean, look, it's a half-hearted. It's the right point, but like politicians, they always give other politicians a way out. He should give serious consideration. No. He's totally ineffective. Just as our city council can cry and protest about the jobs and the tax rate, yet they are culpable. Actually, they're more culpable because the fact is the mayor can propose any pay raise, any job he wants.
That's right.
But it's the city council who funds it. So it's their fault. And now let's see what happens. Let's see the courage of our council. Let's see the courage if they can stand up and actually say, because by saying that he can't do the job effectively and removing him for the good of the city, it's not saying he's guilty. It's not saying he doesn't have due process. It's saying that there are certain jobs, as I said, where perception is a major part of that job. When you have a charismatic president or a charismatic mayor, it brings people in. John F. Kennedy, charisma. They loved him. Even when he screwed up, they loved him. Camelot, it was Camelot. You had the Bay of Pigs, he screwed up. They built the Berlin Wall, he screwed up. They still loved John Kennedy.
Yeah.
But Richard Nixon, Donald Trump, in his state, okay. So the persona does affect the ability to govern. And the reality is, these charges affect his ability to govern. And anybody who says it doesn't is clueless. So let's see what happens, people. I'm sure we'll be talking about this again on Monday.
Well, we'll be talking about something on Monday, that's for sure. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Please have a good weekend and stay angry.